the rise of the beta male. I don't know if you guys have noticed, if you looked around lately, you've noticed there is a growing population of beta males, beta cucks, girly men, men who are raised in single mother households or by weak father figures, and mainstream media, Hollywood, so much so they identify more with their feminine side than their masculine side. I've never seen such an influx of weak, pussified men than I have in the last 5 years even, okay? And I made this comparison in a previous coaching video, whereas when I used to take guys out, because as you guys know, I'm a pickup artist, a pickup coach, I've been taking guys out since the mid-90s, and the guys I used to take out when I first started teaching back in the mid-90s versus the guys I'm taking out now, huge difference, okay? The guys that I used to take out before, getting these guys to approach a girl without filtering themselves wasn't that hard, okay? These guys might have not known what to say when approaching the girl. They might not have known what to do, but they still did it. And they weren't constantly second guessing themselves. They weren't constantly in fear of offending the girl. They weren't constantly in fear of getting me too'd. They weren't constantly in fear of the girl shouting them down and shaming them. I mean, at worst, the only fear they had was the girl's not going to give me her phone number, or the girl is going to give me a fake number. Because back then, this is before like smartphones, right? Nobody really had a cell phone back then. And back then, girls were still giving you their phone number. That's how you contacted them. And generally, when you got a girl's phone number, you would end up going on a date with that girl, right? Most times. And if she gave you a bad number, that didn't happen too often. But that was the most that a girl would reject you. She wouldn't really sit there and shout you down or shame you or anything like that. Guys didn't have to worry about that back then. Whereas today's men do, right? So I don't really blame guys these days. But there has been a huge difference in the type of men I'm taking out these days versus back in the mid-90s. Because today's man is very pussified, is very quick to supplicate to any woman that he feels is better looking than him, right? He automatically puts her on this beautiful woman spell, okay? Whereas we didn't really do that too much before. I mean, in the 90s, it's like a lot of these guys I used to take out had this like delusional sense of self-confidence, which I teach a lot of guys today, right? They had this delusional sense of self-confidence where even if they were like a 5 approaching a 9, they believed in themselves enough to think like, hey, I could get this girl. I'm good looking too, right? Even though there were 5s, right? It was a delusional sense of self-confidence, which actually helped a lot of those guys become successful in life, because a lot of those guys went on to their own success in business, in their careers, in their professions, because they had that delusional sense of self-confidence, something that many guys today are lacking because they're so pussified, they're so indoctrinated by the feminist machine, right? All of this brainwashing, a lifetime of brainwashing, telling you that you're bad for being a man, you're toxic, mister, you're toxic if you display any signs of masculinity. It's toxic. Even guys, like if you lift weights, right, which is a manly thing to do. All men should lift weights, by the way. If you lift weights, oh, it's toxic. If you're competitive, oh, it's toxic. Toxic masculinity, right? It's part of our natural DNA as men to lift weights, to be super competitive, and to go out there and achieve things, build things, create things, make things better. That's part of our path and purpose as men. Right? We are wired to do these things. And when we don't do these things, we are miserable. We're unhappy. We want to off ourselves, which is why you see so many guys killing themselves these days. It's because they're not happy. They're confused about what they should do with themselves and how to be a man in today's world. And it's like, dude, it's never changed since our caveman days. This is how to be a man. Be competitive, lift weights, go out there and build things, create things. Don't let people intimidate you, shout you down, or try to shame you, right? You have to be above that. But never before in history have I seen so many pussified men out there, so many girly men, so much to the point where they buy girly cars, right? You see this rise in like chick cars, right? Where back when I was growing up, only women would drive these cars, right? It's like, you'll see like a convertible Beetle or a Prius. Some dude's driving it. And it's like, dude, get a real man's car. Sell that thing, man. I mean, personally for me, I grew up with muscle cars. My very first car was a 68 Corvette Stingray. I love that car. Me and my dad bought that together. He taught me how to work on it, taught me how to fix it. I eventually crashed it because I was crazy. Like, you don't give a 16-year-old a Corvette, Dad. But he did. He bought that as my first car, had a big engine, and I was racing people, and sure enough, you know, I got in a major accident with that car. But that was my first car, 68 Corvette Stingray. Also, my buddy, one of my best friends in high school, Eddie, he had a 69 Z28 Camaro, and we used to buy these muscle cars. My other buddy, what was his name? His name was Chad. He had a Mustang Fastback. I mean, we all had these tough, cool cars. And I remember other kids had cars that looked similar. We had these tough, cool-looking cars from the 60s. Okay, and when I was in high school in the late 80s, these cars were still affordable. Now they're like these classic, like museum-type cars. But back then, we were able to buy these cars for like $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, right? My Corvette was like $8,500 at the time, which was a lot of money, but my dad worked very hard to get me that car. He knew how bad I wanted it, so, you know, God bless his heart, he got me that car. But these were real men's cars, right? They were tough cars. And even if you look at 80s movies, you see these teenagers in these 80s movies driving tough cars, driving Mustangs, driving Camaros, driving Corvettes. Right, I was recently watching this movie called, my girl brought it over because I told her I won't watch anything beyond the year 2000. So she found a movie and she brought it over. It was called The Wraith, 1986, The Wraith. And it's funny, Nick Cervantes, I want to say, was one of the lead characters in that movie next to Charlie Sheen, was Nick Cervantes. And I just saw him at the Office Max in Studio City, which is funny. And he was like walking by and he actually said hi to me. I was like, oh, hey, man. You know, he's just being friendly. I don't know him, but he said hi. So that was pretty interesting coincidence. But even in that movie, you could see that teenage kids are like driving all these cool, tough cars, right? They're not girly man cars, they're tough man cars. That's the reason we call them muscle cars. But nowadays, I mean, you see all these girly cars out there. These manufacturers are building like smaller, more compact, like hybrid type cars. I can understand about wanting to save on gas, but it's like, I would just never drive one of those. If I had a kid, I wouldn't get him one of those. You know, I would probably get him like an older Mustang or something like that, and then give him a box of tools and be like, here, work on this car when it breaks. Teach yourself how to work on it. Here's a Chilton manual for it. Work on it when it breaks. Most of this stuff you'll be able to fix on your own, unless it's like a major engine repair or transmission rebuild. Even then, gather up your buddies and figure it out. That's what I would do if it was my son. I wouldn't be like, here's the keys to your new hybrid Prius. Here's the keys to your new Civic hybrid. You know, no, I'd be like, here's this 69 Mustang. It's yours. It's rusted. It needs a little work, but here's a box of tools, and here's the Chilton manual. Fix it. Keep it on the road. That's yours. That's your first car. And teach him how to work on his car, just like my dad used to teach me. You know, my dad kind of did the same things. Like, here are my tools. If when it breaks, fix it. If it's anything big, let me know. We'll take it to the shop. But most of the stuff you could fix. Like, okay. I mean, even the cars I have now, like I recently got a 65 Corvette Stingray. You guys have seen it on my Instagram. You guys who aren't following me yet on Instagram, follow me at Matt Cross Official. You can see my Corvette on there. I've also actually shot some coaching videos in that car, so you can see it here on my channel as well. And that is a man's car. You cannot get manlier than a Corvette. Right? So you guys who have the means, get yourself one. I'm not talking about the new one that looks like every other sports car out there. I'm talking about like an older vet, C1, C2, C3, C4. Those are really affordable right now. The C5s are pretty affordable, right? You guys who know Corvettes, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, research it, right? Learn how to get a real man's car. I've got an SUV. I needed an SUV. Did I go out and buy myself, I don't know, what's a girly man SUV? Did I go out and buy a RAV4? No. No. I bought a Range Rover, right? You know, luckily I'm at a point where I can afford it. I've always wanted that car, by the way. It's not like I just bought it because it's a luxury car. So some guys are like, you just bought it because it's a luxury car. No, dude, I actually did my research on that car, and I've always wanted one. So I went and bought it. And that is a big car. It's a man's car. One of my wings has a Hummer, right, in San Francisco. And when I ride with this dude, it's hilarious, like how many liberals were in the Hummer, minding our own business, right? How many people, like liberals, like give us a finger. Screw you guys! Screw you stupid Hummer douchebags! And it's like, what? And even in my Range Rover, sometimes I get that in San Francisco. They don't like that. They don't like those kind of cars there. They want the hybrid. They want the Prius. They want you driving the girly man cars, mister. Turn in your penis and drive the girly man car. Right? But that's where that shit starts. We have like such a rise in like beta males. It's insane. I remember I was at a Target in Van Nuys, right? And there was this kid, must have been like 22, total hipster, right? Total hipster. He had like the lumberjack flannels and he had like the lumberjack beard, but you could tell this guy's never picked up an axe in his life. Yet he had this like hipster lumberjack look, even with the flannels and the shoes. I looked down, the dude even had the shoes, right? And then we were both kind of in line together and we both walked out to the parking garage. I walked to my Range Rover and this dude like literally walked to a smart car, man. You know those like tiny, like dinky little cars? Walks to a smart car. I'm like, are you serious? But I've never seen such a rise in beta males. Ever since I've been uploading Red Pill content, I've had women and men for that matter, like, what? Why are you uploading these coaching videos? What's the reason for this? And it's like, my reasoning is very simple. It's because I have never seen so many students so petrified with women that are holding them on such a high pedestal like they're these untouchable Disney princesses, that my response to that was to unpussify them. And the way I unpussify these guys is by showing them that women are just no different than you and I. We're all human beings, okay? We're all human, and women have their flaws too. So yes, I've been exposing the dark side of women lately, you know? Not even like women themselves, but really just bad women. I'm just really warning them of what to watch out for when they're out there approaching girls, right? And to stay away from these types of women, to try to find the good women. And finding a good woman these days is like finding a needle in a haystack, just because feminism has really like absorbed society over the last few decades. I've never seen like an entire generation of guys so afraid and so in fear and so in their heads and so confused and so indoctrinated and so pussified that they can't even walk up to a girl and be their natural selves without filtering themselves, without second guessing themselves, without worrying that they're gonna offend her or her womanhood, or they're gonna disrespect her. They're gonna not empower her, right? I've never seen so many guys like think like this, whereas, as I was saying, if I think back to the guys I used to take out in the mid-90s, stark difference, right? Big difference. These guys never thought twice about it. They didn't think twice. But then again, you look at the role models that we grew up with in the 70s and the 80s, right? They're masculine guys. If you grew up in the 80s like I did, Stallone, he was big. Schwarzenegger, he was big. These guys were always doing like very masculine type movies, whether it was Rocky, Rambo, Commando, which is one of my favorites to this very day. I love watching Commando. I always tell guys, if you want to increase your testosterone levels within a 2-hour period, just put on Commando on the DVD player. You'll love it, right? Make you feel like more of a man. That's a prime example of what a man should look like. Like big, strong, sense of humor. I think that movie broke some record for the most amount of kills in a movie, which is kind of funny. You don't see movies like that anymore, right? You don't. And even the ones that you do, like I know Stallone did like the Expendables recently and stuff like that. A lot of these newer movies they just kind of feel like either watered down or very unrealistic, very fake, because they use a lot of CGI now, right? They use a lot of CGI movies, whereas before you had stuntmen and you had guys actually hitting each other, where now it's like everything's all CGI. I just have no interest in it. It doesn't really appeal to me. It just looks fake and it looks try hard and it just looks not watchable, right? But we had a lot of alpha male characters to learn from in the 70s, in the 80s, whereas we don't have that anymore, right? Kids don't have that growing up anymore. And I am seeing the effects of that now with a lot of students I'm getting. I am seeing the effects of that. And it's not good. It's not healthy. I know a lot of SJWs, like, it's better for society. And it's not, no, it's not good for society. It's unhealthy. These guys are killing themselves because they're so confused. These guys are miserable. There was statistics that I saw recently that says that millennial men, or like men ages 18 to 25, are having like 30% less sex than the generation previously. It was like some crazy number like that. Like, kids are having way less sex than ever before, which means that, they're just not getting laid, right? They're not getting married, obviously. They can't find girlfriends because they're little bitches. Women don't want to be with a guy who's a little bitch, which, as much as she tells you that's what she wants you to be a docile man, support feminism, equal pay for women, which is bullshit, equal pay for women, and men are just not being men anymore. That's not what she's attracted to. She wants a guy who's going to be a man. And I've told you guys over and over, like, I still date women in their 20s. Now these women that I'm seeing now are more indoctrinated than any generation I've seen previously. Right? I've been around long enough to experience the different generations. And this one right now that I'm dating, they're heavily indoctrinated, but they're also like way more attracted to me than any of the previous girls that I dated from previous generations in the past. Like, these girls now are like, they just glom onto me because it's like, wow, here's a guy who stands up for himself. Here's a guy who doesn't put up with my shit. Here's a guy who's not afraid to be politically incorrect. Here's a guy who doesn't filter himself. Here's a guy who says whatever's on his mind and doesn't give a shit. Here's a guy who's willing to walk out the door and not think twice about it. Right? Here's a guy who acts like a man. Where are more guys like this? Right? It's not that these guys aren't around. It's just that their masculinity has been suppressed. Right? It's been suppressed by all this indoctrination. Mainstream media, Hollywood, TV, movies, advertising, sports. Right? You guys see what's happening with the NFL. I've lost interest in the NFL a lot when they started wearing pink. I'm like, why are these homos wearing pink? What's the point of this? I understand breast cancer research. Hey, I'm for it, whatever. But why is that in a male sport? Why isn't that in a female sport? Why does that have to invade like our male sport? That is like our time to relax and not think about anything political. It's just our time to just not think about anything, right? We don't want to see these guys wearing pink. Why not just put them in skirts? Might as well. Don't think that won't happen in the future. It could, right? It could. They've gone this far. Right? And the only way to really turn this around, and I believe we are turning it around, okay, so there is some light at the tunnel, is by getting more of this knowledge out there to the public. And obviously we're being attacked, right? I'm being attacked, and I'm a pickup artist. I'm a pickup coach. That's what I am. That's what I do, right? But I'm being attacked ever since I started uploading this red pill content. A lot of my videos are being demonetized. Like, why? Right? I did one called Red Pill Isolation and Loneliness. It has about almost 100,000 views. It's helped a lot of guys. That video has so many likes on it and very, very few dislikes. Yet it got demonetized. Why? I'm like, what did I say in that video? All I was talking about was, how to deal with loneliness and isolation as a red pill man. Why would you demonetize that? Why is that not advertiser friendly? Doesn't make sense. Right? But our voices are being suppressed. We're being shut down. Right? But, thanks to the internet, more and more guys are being awakened. Right? They're taking the red pill. And they realize how blue pill they've been their entire lives. So they're waking up to it. So there is light at the end of the tunnel. And I'm just excited when I see more and more guys just unplugging themselves from the matrix. I love seeing that. As much as these platforms try to silence us and shut our voices down, and they try to attack free speech. We need to keep sharing this information with other guys, okay? We need to keep sharing it with other guys that we know are ready to be unplugged. Is everybody in your social circle or family ready to be unplugged? Probably not. Not yet, but they will be soon. But there are guys in your social circle and in your family who are just looking for information like this, who are just looking to be unplugged, and you have the information that can help them if you're watching videos like mine. Okay, share it with them. Tell them that, hey, you don't have to live like this. It doesn't have to be this way. Okay, we've been lied to. We've been lied to. right? And this is why you see so many of these platforms trying to shut down our voices. Whether it's my videos getting demonetized, or I know there was a Red Pill Reddit forum that got quarantined recently. It's like, why? Why can't you just let these guys have their space? You don't see any feminist groups getting quarantined, do you? Right? And they're preaching some really radical, very catastrophic to society ideas. Their ideas are the ones that are extreme and violent, right? A lot of them are like preaching violence and killing people and murdering people. I have not seen a single red person anywhere advocate for that. Like, it's like, no, we just want to be men again. That's all we want, okay? We want to stop this pussification of young boys, this emasculation of young boys, this confusion of children. Like, not even just young boys, but girls too, right? You might have a daughter. I mean, this applies to her too. Feminism doesn't only hurt young boys, but it also hurts young girls, right? It shames them for wanting to be feminine, for wanting to become mothers, for wanting to have a family, for wanting to be traditional. It shames them too. And this is why I tell girls who are like against feminism, you should be supporting me. You should be supporting my work. You might not like all of it, but you should be supporting me. And I've told like haters of mine, like, oh, you hate women. You must hate women. It's like, no, I don't hate women. I love women, but I hate feminism, okay? So don't make any mistake. I love women, hate feminism. But there has been a rise of girly men in society. And like I said, I feel the tide is turning because more and more men are waking up to the lies they've been fed. They are actively and proactively seeking out content like mine, and they are proactively unplugging themselves from that blue pill matrix, and they are going red pill. And they're creating a new paradigm for themselves, a new life for themselves. And they're looking back on how foolish they were throughout their lives, like believing the lies. And that's why I keep banging on over and over and telling you guys to turn off the Hollywood indoctrination. Stop watching the movies, guys. Stop paying for those Hollywood movies. Just stop doing it. Even in the 80s, 90s, there was a little bit of propaganda, but you could see through it pretty easily, right? When they would push single motherhood or broken homes or degeneracy, you could see it. But nowadays, it's like, you know, they're like blatantly pushing it. You know, they were more subtle about it back then, but nowadays they're blatantly pushing it. Blatantly pushing it onto society. And you got to turn it off. You got to vote with your wallet. Stop paying for the Hollywood movies. Increase your testosterone levels as much as you can. Do it naturally. Don't take supplements. You know, I've done a number of coaching videos here on my channel about how to increase your testosterone levels naturally by diet, lowering your stress levels, your cortisol, getting enough sleep, okay, eating the right foods, eating clean, lifting weights. You gotta lift weights, guys. You gotta lift weights. You know, these days I don't do much cardio. I do mostly weight training, okay? So you gotta lift weights. So many kids these days, especially being raised by single mothers in single mother households. Big reason too for the girly man effect. You know, it's because when you're raised by a single mom, then you go to school and you're taught by more women, right? Because most teachers are women. You don't see many male teachers anymore. Most teachers are female these days. So your kid is constantly surrounded by the feminine. It's no surprise why these kids like grow up to be so feminine. Then they buy feminine cars. They do feminine things. They lash out like little girls. They break out in these emotional tirades because they identify more with their feminine than their masculine, right? And there was nobody to ever call them out on that when they were being raised because they had a single mother who taught them that. This is okay. It's not okay. So with that said, I'm going to wrap up here. Until next time, this is Matt Cross from Alpha Male Secrets. Don't forget to smash that like button below. Also hit that notification bell right next to it so that you are notified whenever I release a brand new coaching video. More importantly, guys, make sure you subscribe to my channel. Too many of you guys are still not yet subscribed to this channel, so please do that. It helps me out a ton. When you subscribe to the channel, it's free, it doesn't cost anything, and anytime I upload a brand new coaching video to YouTube, you will be the first to know about it, okay? So you'll get it first, you won't have to like look for it and dig for it through the search engines. You'll get it right as I upload it. And all you need to do is hit that subscribe button, okay? All you need to do is be subscribed to my channel. It doesn't cost anything. So hit the subscribe button now, I really appreciate it. And for you guys who want to support my work and my content even further, all this red pill knowledge I'm teaching guys, the best way to do that is by becoming a premium subscriber of my premium Alpha Male Secrets channel, which I am hosting on a private platform away from YouTube. Okay, I'm hosting it on a private platform away from YouTube where you cannot access my premium content unless you are an active member of my premium Alpha Male Secrets channel. And the first month is only $1, so it's only $1 for the entire first month of being a premium subscriber of my premium Alpha Male channel. And it's real simple to get access. All you need to do is click that link below in my description box. It will take you over to my website where you can get signed up right now. It just takes 2 seconds. So do that now, and I will see you in my next coaching video.